My swim coach called me the anchor for 2 years because I always finished last. He didn't know I had exercise-induced asthma and couldn't afford the inhaler my doctor prescribed. I was literally training while unable to breathe properly. I never told anyone because I was embarrassed about the money thing. My parents were already working 2 jobs each and I didn't want to add to their stress by asking for a $200 inhaler. Coach would make examples out of me during team meetings. "This is what happens when you don't push yourself," he'd say, pointing at my times on the board while the other swimmers would snicker. I'd just sit there and take it. What else could I do? I loved swimming and I kept showing up to every single practice, even though I knew what was coming. The worst part wasn't even the comments. It was how he'd pair me with the fastest swimmers during drills, specifically so they'd lap me. He thought it would motivate me. Instead, it just made everyone resent having me on the team. I'd hear them complaining in the locker room about how I was dragging down the team's average times. During practice, I'd have to stop every few laps to catch my breath. Not because I was tired, my muscles felt fine, but because my lungs literally wouldn't fill with air. It felt like breathing through a straw. Coach would blow his whistle and yell at me to get moving, calling me lazy in front of everyone. I found my own ways to cope. I'd arrive early and stay late, doing extra laps when no one was watching. I figured if I couldn't breathe well, I could at least build up my technique and endurance. I studied videos of Olympic swimmers online, breaking down their strokes frame by frame. I learned to be incredibly efficient with every movement because I had to be. Then my aunt died. She didn't have kids and she left my family some money. Not a fortune, but enough that my mom cried when she told me we could finally handle some of our medical bills. First thing I did was get that inhaler. My doctor actually seemed relieved when I came in. He'd been worried about me training with untreated asthma for so long. I used it for the first time before practice and I swear it felt like I'd been living underwater my whole life and someone finally pulled me to the surface. I could fill my lungs completely. I didn't know what to do with all that oxygen. Within 3 weeks, my times dropped by almost 30 seconds. Suddenly I was finishing in the middle of the pack instead of dead last. Coach noticed but didn't say anything. I think he assumed I'd finally started trying. Our biggest meet of the season was coming up, the regional championship. Coach obsessed over this meet all year because his college rival was coaching the opposing team. They had this whole competitive thing going back decades. He'd been planning his lineup for months and he was planning to bench me. I overheard him telling the assistant coach that he couldn't risk the embarrassment of having me swim. But then 2 of our top swimmers got suspended the week before the meet for drinking at a party. Suddenly, coach had gaps in his lineup he couldn't fill. He needed bodies in the water. He pulled me aside after practice. "You're swimming the 500 freestyle," he said. Not asked, told. The 500 was the longest, most brutal race. The one nobody wanted because it hurt the whole way through. He figured even if I came in last, it wouldn't matter as much in the distance event. I didn't tell him about the inhaler. Didn't mention my times had been dropping. Just nodded and said okay. The day of the meet, I showed up early and did my warm-up. Used my inhaler. Did some breathing exercises I'd learned online. I felt ready. The 500 freestyle was one of the last events. I watched coach getting more and more stressed as the meet went on. We were neck and neck with his rivals team. Every race mattered. When they called my event, I stepped up to the block. Coach was pacing behind the starting area. I could see his rival smiling on the other side of the pool, probably thinking this was where we'd lose ground. The gun went off. For the first time in 2 years of swimming, I could actually breathe. Like, really breathe. Every stroke felt powerful. My lungs filled completely on every breath. It was incredible. I stayed in 3rd place for the first 400 meters, pacing myself, conserving energy like I'd learned from all those practices where I was oxygen deprived and had to be smart about every movement. Then the final 100 meters hit. I kicked into a gear I didn't even know I had. I passed the swimmer in 2nd place, then 1st. I touched the wall and looked up at the scoreboard. Not only had I won, but I'd just set a new pool record. I looked over at coach. His face had gone completely white. His rival was laughing and clapping on the other side of the pool. I climbed out of the water and walked past coach without saying a word.